Thing that, as we say in the film, anybody with a desk and a diploma, I would listen to them.
Hollywood has seen scandals, heartbreaks, and sudden losses before, but nothing prepared the industry for the tragedy that unfolded this winter. News broke that legendary filmmaker Robert Kane and his wife Michelle Kane were found dead inside their Brentwood home. Within minutes, shock spread across social media, film studios, and newsrooms around the world. Robert Kane was not just a director, he was a symbol of warmth, humor, and storytelling. For decades, his work brought laughter, reflection, and connection to millions. Michelle, his wife of more than 3 decades, was known as his emotional anchor, often described as the quiet strength behind his success. The idea that their lives could end so violently felt unreal. Fans struggled to process the news. Colleagues expressed disbelief. And as details emerged, the tragedy deepened, because this was not a random act of violence. It was something far more personal.
But is it not hopelessly muddled or incoherent to think one could do something with random neural noise?
The night that changed everything forever. On a quiet December evening, the Kane household fell silent. When repeated calls to Robert and Michelle went unanswered, their youngest daughter, Rachel Kane, grew concerned. A sense of dread pushed her to drive to the family estate, a place once filled with laughter, conversation, and creative energy. When police arrived following her call, they made a discovery that would haunt everyone involved. Robert Kane, 78, and Michelle Kane, 68, were found lifeless inside their home. Investigators quickly determined that this was no accident. There were no signs of forced entry. No robbery. No random intrusion. Authorities labeled the case a double homicide within hours. The scene suggested familiarity, not chaos. Someone the couple trusted had been there. As word spread, Hollywood froze. Vigils appeared outside studios. Tributes poured in. But behind the headlines, a darker question loomed: who could have done this? A son under scrutiny. Attention quickly turned to the couple's son, Nathan Kane, a 32-year-old screenwriter who had long struggled to escape his father's shadow. Police confirmed that Nathan was being questioned as a person of interest. No charges were filed immediately, but investigators made it clear that domestic factors were central to the case. Nathan's story was a painful one. Raised on movie sets and surrounded by creativity, he had talent, but also deep internal conflict. Living up to a famous last name came with expectations he never felt prepared to meet. As a teenager, Nathan began struggling with substance abuse. What started as experimentation turned into addiction. Rehab programs followed. Court-ordered treatments. Relapses. Periods of homelessness. Each chapter left new scars, not just on Nathan, but on his family. Robert Kane once admitted in an interview that watching his son suffer was the greatest fear of his life. "You never stop worrying," he said. "Every phone call feels like it could be the worst one." Addiction and the breaking point. Addiction does not arrive suddenly. It builds quietly, testing patience, trust, and love. Over the years, Nathan's battles created emotional distance within the family. Arguments became frequent. Hope alternated with disappointment. Michelle often tried to hold the family together, acting as a mediator between father and son. But the strain was relentless. Addiction blurred boundaries. It turned love into fear, and support into exhaustion. Those close to the family described a household filled with concern and tension. There were moments of optimism, times when Nathan seemed stable, focused, and creative. But recovery is fragile, and setbacks were devastating. By the time of the tragedy, investigators were examining recent interactions between Nathan and his parents, searching for answers hidden in unresolved conflict. Art as a last attempt at healing. Years before the tragedy, Robert and Nathan collaborated on a deeply personal film titled Broken Summer. The project explored a strained relationship between a father and a son battling addiction, a story drawn directly from Nathan's life. For Nathan, writing the film was an act of honesty. For Robert, directing it was a way to listen. Interviews at the time described the experience as emotional but hopeful. The film was never about awards, it was about understanding. During production, father and son worked closely, sometimes clashing, sometimes reconnecting. Robert admitted that despite decades in filmmaking, this project was different. "This one belongs to him," he said of Nathan. "My job was to protect the truth." For a moment, it seemed like art had done what words could not. But reconciliation is not a cure. And healing takes more than creativity. A daughter's trauma and a family shattered. The discovery of the bodies fell to Rachel Kane, a moment that would define her life forever. Friends say she has remained out of the public eye, surrounded by close family and professional support. The Kane family released a brief statement acknowledging their loss and requesting privacy. No details were offered. No speculation addressed. Behind closed doors, grief collided with confusion and anger. There were no winners, only survivors trying to understand how everything fell apart. The investigation continued, but one thing was clear: this tragedy did not begin that night. It was years in the making. The legacy of Robert Kane. Robert Kane's career spanned over 40 years. From groundbreaking comedies to deeply emotional dramas, his films shaped modern cinema. He was known for blending humor with heart, and for telling stories that felt deeply human. Raised by a legendary entertainer, Robert once feared being overshadowed. Instead, he built his own voice, one rooted in sincerity, curiosity, and empathy. His work influenced generations of filmmakers and actors. Even in his later years, he remained passionate, directing documentaries and mentoring young artists. He believed stories could heal, a belief that guided his life until the end. Now, his legacy stands beside a tragedy that no success could prevent. Fame, silence, and the cost of ignoring pain. This fictional story reflects a painful truth: fame amplifies everything. Success. Pressure. Silence. Addiction thrives when pain goes unspoken, and families often suffer quietly behind public smiles. The Kane tragedy is not just about crime. It's about missed opportunities for healing. About how love alone is sometimes not enough. It is a reminder that behind Hollywood glamour are families fighting private battles, battles that do not care about wealth, status, or legacy.